Cartoonia Nellenbaugh, otherwise known as Ravings and Cravings, here in the studio with the famous Matt Rupar, because he's just like Ed McMahon. He is my Ed McMahon. For those of you who remember those days of Johnny Carson. Good evening, Matt. Thank you for helping.
You're welcome.
You're the only reason why this rolls, so, you know.
I'm always happy to help you.
Thank you. That's just because I have food for you. You only like people when they can feed you, right?
I'm not Art. Come on.
He's not here, is he?
He's not here.
Okay. All right, more cake for us. So today, I am going solo, guys, and I brought in a whole bunch of stuff, and I hope that I have enough time to promote and to talk. Today is a call-in show, so... And I hate saying show. It's a call-in opportunity. I thought we would focus on favorite recipes. Some of your favorite recipes, some of my favorite recipes. I brought in some of my favorite recipes that I created just this week for Matt to try, so he's lucky. This is like my family favorite kind of stuff. This is the stuff that... for birthdays or for special occasions, like I hauled these Armenian cookies all the way to Boston yesterday just to share them with my daughter. So, by request. So I have some recipes to share. I have some stories to share. You guys can call in at any time. I'll put my earphones on. So we're focusing on favorite recipes today. Favorite food, favorites that you like to eat. So it's 860-456-1400 is the phone number. I'm going to start blabbing, and if someone calls, I'll just grab the earphones. So I'm going to start with my favorite chocolate cake recipe. It is from a cooking magazine called Taste of Home. Back in the day, our town, the Chronicle actually, used to sponsor Taste of Home cooking shows here in Willimantic, and I got to meet some of the people who are on stage. In fact, I even got to help prep and be on the stage and sweat, because if you make something wrong, you just feel the pressure of like hundreds of people looking at you. But one of my favorite recipes from there is this chocolate cake recipe. And this chocolate cake recipe has coffee in it. So I think anything that has coffee in it has to be good. So this week is my husband's birthday, and I have some of his favorite chocolate cake with buttercream icing here that I'm going to let Matt... Do you want some chocolate cake?
Yes, please.
Is that okay?
I think so.
So this is what my family asks for whenever they want chocolate cake. I'm going to show people what it looks like. I got it cut into pieces. I mean, it looks nice.
It looks beautiful
in a pan, but why don't you snag a couple of those pieces, and you can munch on that. This recipe is so moist that it makes any chocolate cake look terrible. So this is the standard for us. So what's your commentary? What do you think?
Extremely moist.
Yep, that's what it is.
Extremely tasty.
Mm-hmm.
It's like falling apart in my hands. It's so good. I'm blown away.
Yeah, well, and the buttercream icing, I remember I went to one of the Culinary Olympics at UConn one year, and I was talking to the guy in the bakery, and I was marveling at how good his icing was, because I'm kind of an icing freak. I love icing, but it has to be a certain way. I just don't like any icing. Like, I think Highland Park Market has great icing. I think Mada's has awesome kind of... It's not icing, but it's a filling in their whoopie pies. That is like... To me, that would be as good as a birthday cake. But for this icing is just... The Culinary Olympic guy said, you just want to beat the heck out of it. So you just want to throw the switch and just beat it. But I think also I have a really good vanilla, and I think that also makes it. So I brought that in today, and so we'll have more of that later. I'm going to cover it up because I'm just going to, I could sit here and down all of this right now. The cookies I referred to are my mom's favorite recipe. I'm going to show what these look like. They're not special looking. They look kind of like a log that's got an angled cut on the sides. These have pecans in them, actually toasted pecans. You want to grab one of those too?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Simple recipe, has like 6 ingredients. It's kind of like a shortbread. Some cultures might call it like a Mexican wedding cake or whatever. I didn't put powdered sugar on mine, but these have the toasted pecans in it, and it's ground very finely, and you just throw it together with powdered sugar, and it's flour, and it's 1 egg for, I think one recipe makes like 80 cookies. And these are great because you can put like 40 on a sheet. So, turn your oven on once and you have a lot of cookies. I hauled these to Boston
Really?
yes, along with a sour cream coffee cake for my daughter because that was her request. Side note, yesterday going to Boston took me 8 hours to get to the American Repertory Theater because unbeknownst to us, the trains and the subways were not running.
Oh,
Yeah, so, this is what it looked like this today. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, you'll know why. No, it was worth it, though. It was worth it. So those are a couple of my favorite recipes. And if you have a favorite recipe or something that you like to eat that you want to share, the number's 860-456-1400. I'm going to go on to this magazine, which people out there, some of you may have heard of it. It's called Country Woman. This is the January 2022 issue that I'm going to show you. And I don't know where these people found me, but they asked me to write a story for them. And so I have my story in here, and it's called Let's Eat, and the byline is Food, Family, Friends, and Kitchen Comforts. So they called it The Gathering Place Around the World. So part of the headline says, an international potluck-style feast stirs up amazing flavors and a feeling of community. So when you open up the magazine, I don't know if people can see this. I'm going to just do this. I'm holding up the magazine so people can see the picture of me cooking. That picture was taken by Lisa Nichols, who's an incredible photographer. But it's a story about there are 3 Chinese scholars that are pictured in my story. And one Christmas, on many Christmases, I had an open house. And basically it means we tell people you can just come in whenever you want, you can leave whenever you need to. A lot of people like to linger, so they come and go. And one Christmas, these 3 visiting scholars from China, they brought all the ingredients necessary to make their traditional jiaozi, or dumplings. And when I say traditional, they made even the wrapper part from scratch. So every flat surface in my kitchen was covered with flour and messes. My whole stove was totally trashed. And here are these 3 women that are just chattering away, having a great time. Most people had already eaten, but everyone had to have homemade dumplings. And they were incredible. And I do spend a lot of time feeding people. Many of my friends are international friends, and so I've gotten to eat some very interesting things through my relationships with internationals. One of the little headline things in this article says, they quoted me and said, "We learned about one another's countries and traditions through food." You can learn a lot about people based on like what they eat. I think food and music. You ask people like, what is your favorite food? What's your favorite music? I think you can learn a lot about people that way. So anyway, that's the Country Woman magazine. That was a very fun thing to do. I have another magazine, and I'm not even sure if it's in print anymore, but it's an online magazine. I asked my kids to give this to me for Mother's Day. It's called Connecticut Food and Farm. It's a hefty issue. It's kind of heavy, but it's a beautiful magazine. Winter Kaplanson is the brainchild, I think, behind it. And when it's in print online, so you can go to Connecticut Food and Farm. The issue that I am pointing out is spring of 2020. I guess 2020 was a good year. Mm-hmm. That seems like that was not very long ago, but it was long ago. I got to do a whole spread about my Armenian table. So I'm going to hold up another picture of this because it has a picture of the cookies. in like grayscale. And again, the photographer, I have to give credit where it's due, is Lisa Nichols. So in this article, it was like my family story, the traditional Armenian recipes. You know, my dad came here from Beirut, Lebanon. I grew up eating Armenian food all my life, and sadly longing for things like macaroni and cheese and hot dogs and bologna sandwiches, and little did I know that I had it good. I had it good when I had it. So I have my story about my family and coming to this country and making traditional Armenian foods, which a lot of people think, when you make ethnic food that it's going to take hours upon hours, and some things really do take hours upon hours. If I were to stuff grape leaves, do those we called it sarma. I mean, that was like an all-day event. When we made traditional shish kebab, and we didn't have a big grill, we had a little makeshift thing with charcoal. It was a whole Saturday of my mom putting the meat on skewers, and then my sister and I shuttling raw skewers back and forth, my dad cooking it, putting the cooked stuff in a container, and then just keeping the process going. Because if you're going to make the food, you may as well make a ton. That was a good theory. Yeah. My grandfather was a baker in Beirut, and so I think part of the cooking and baking thing runs in my blood. One recipe I wanted to point out that was in the Connecticut Food and Farm magazine is called jajach. They called it, it's not really a yogurt salad, but, in this hot weather, like, who wants to cook? Who wants to turn anything on that has heat? Not me. I don't want to. This is something that you can make very easily with yogurt, cold water, crushed garlic, salt, crushed mint, and a cucumber. And all you do is you put all those things together and serve it on ice and let it water down a little bit, so it ends up being like a drink. It's a drink. And it's very refreshing. It's wonderful. I could go for some of that right now. Other recipes in here are some Armenian style rice. I have a leg of lamb recipe that was in a Taste of Home cooking magazine. It also made one of their cookbooks, I think, one year. And also, of course, Armenian coffee, because we have our own coffee, and our coffee is like motor oil. So, if I go get coffee somewhere, it's add 3 more shots or something like that. This was a very fun thing to do, and it was a great opportunity to have some really beautiful pictures taken by someone who knows what they're doing with a camera. So this was Connecticut Food and Farm. For summer of 2021 in Connecticut Food and Farm, I did a story about a local cook and caterer, Maria San Angeles. And so I did a story about her and her journey to become what she is today. And she is a very incredible woman, an incredible story of her coming here from, I believe it was Mexico, I think, and forming her catering business. So I have that story in there. And then I have some other stories that are online stories in an online magazine called Armenian Weekly. It's not the New York Times. All right, we know this. I know this. But it is about all things Armenian. And I didn't realize I even had this in the magazine. I wrote about my travels to Armenia right before COVID happened. So I was in Armenia like 7 months before COVID took the world and made us stay home. So I have some of my food and traveling experiences in that online magazine called Armenian Weekly. And that was very interesting to do because food in that country, it tastes better than here. Sorry, it does. And it's way cheaper than it is here, too. So that is that. I'm going to put the magazines aside. Is it crickets chirping? Like there are no people out there who cook, no people out there who have recipes or things that they want to share yet. You still have time. Phone number is 860-456-1400. I'll just continue on with this idea. I've been wanting to do this with the local newspaper, and it's all about food, of course, again. I wanted to do a series, and I'm saying this on the air because I'm hoping that there'll be people out there to help me. I wanted to do a series about the ethnic groups of people who came to work at the mills and to find a simple traditional recipe from that people group and then to write about it and to spend time in someone's kitchen making whatever the thing is. So the people groups that I had, and some of them I found people for, but I'm going to name all the people groups anyway, are French Canadian and Irish, Italian, Polish, German, Ukrainian, Latvian, Lithuanian, Lebanese, and Puerto Rican. So, I think Dutch. Yep, I had Dutch on there too. So if any of you out there know people who can cook those kinds of traditional foods, I would be all ears. Could they call that same number? Could they call the radio and say, "Hey, I know people from that ethnic group"? That would be okay?
Yeah.
Okay. 860-456-1400. You're welcome to do that. I would love to have people to interview and to learn some recipes. I have a few people already filling in some of those spaces, but I am lacking, so sadly. All right, that's other food things. So the other thing that I would love to have, if there are people out there who are English and Spanish speakers, is some of my Hispanic business people in here so I can interview them. So I've had a few people in the past, and today is supposed to be a bilingual interview, but I could not find anyone, so I will just admit that flat out. If you are a business owner and you have anything to do with food, I feel like I'm here to serve the public in this area and maybe even beyond. So you're welcome to contact me. My Facebook page is very active, called Ravings and Cravings, the same name as the radio show. So you can always contact that page. You can find me through there. You can find me through Instagram. My Instagram handle is Crave, Eat, and Love. And it's under Ruth H. Allenbaugh, Alumbaugh. So you can find me there. You could even Google if you can spell my name. If you can spell my name, you can find me also. So it's Ruth Hartunian Allenbaugh, HARTUNIAN-ALUMBAUGH. So if you even Google me, I'm sure you can find me. And if we go further down the line, you can go to Music and More International, and you can find me there, and you can find my YouTube channel because I have music that I post there. Did you know that, Matt?
I think I did know that. You
had
a guest on, and you two wrote some music together.
Oh yeah, yep, we do. Yeah, yep. I haven't written anything for a while. I think the next music thing I have coming up is going to be playing at the Wyndham Senior Center.
Oh, cool.
Just so people can sing some of their favorite songs. So my friend Kathleen and I are going to do that sometime this month. But otherwise, nothing else that I know of. So anyway, you can find me. And if you see me out on the street, you can find me there too. Maybe I don't know if I'll go to Third Thursday. If it's like this outside where you feel like someone's put a pillow on your head when you walk outside, likely I'm not going to be down here. That's for sure. I'm going to be somewhere where it's air conditioned. So next week I can tell you who my guest is. I'm going to pull out my calendar and tell you. So today's July 15th. For July 22nd, I am going to be having the pleasure of hosting Chef Will Deason here behind the microphone. Chef Will has been a fixture here in this town and has been the main chef person at Willie Brew for many years, and he recently is on to other journeys, other exciting things, and so we'll be hearing more about what he is up to. Always a pleasure to talk to Chef Will. He and I also, we adjudicate at the Culinary Olympics at the University of Connecticut in January when they have that. I always pray around Thanksgiving that they'll contact me and ask me to come back and do that because I really love that event. So it'll be Chef Will Deason here next Monday on the air. That will be very exciting. Well, there is no one out there who has anything favorite to eat. The phone has not rung at all. Thank you so much for setting stuff up because you had to do other stuff around here to make that happen.
You're welcome, Ruth. Anytime for you.
Yeah, thank you. We'll eat some more cake when we sign off and some cookies. I will see you guys, or I will hear you. You'll hear me next week. This is Ruth Hartunian-Alaba on Good Company WILI signing off for Ravings and Cravings.